Is up, Force fans? Star Wars Dad back for another video. Today we're going to be looking at some decks that are on the rise after some good results in the Richmond sector qualifiers. Before we get into today's video, please make sure to check out my Patreon. We are at over 100 deck lists. We are building a great community with giveaways, meta discussions, and more exclusive content. Please also make sure to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel to grow. And please make sure to sign up for the 4,500 subscriber giveaway, where I will be giving away 3 prestige foils to 3 lucky winners. To get into today's video, I wanted to talk about a few different decks that I thought were on the rise as far as just being competitive and being really good choices for where we're at in this current meta. The first one I want to take a look at was this Han Solo Echo Base list that a guy named Alex played and got 3rd place at the Richmond sector qualifiers. What I really liked about this list is that he was a lot heavier in space, and that this deck definitely has an aggressive undertone to it with the with the pilots and just putting a lot of pressure and surprise strike, Han Solo, Chewbacca. It can really go fast, and then it has a good top end as well. Han Solo, Ewing reinforcement, even the 6-drop Millennium Falcon. I just thought it was a really cool list, and it clearly it did really well. You're using the home ones in the sideboard and the traders in the sideboard for the more aggressive opponents. Being able to play a lot of these spaceships on turn 1, like the Falcons or the AT Hauler, and then being able to immediately pilot those on turn 2 to get in for a boatload of damage right away. You can just put your opponent under a ton of pressure and keep up with some of the best aggro decks in the format. Like the Stolen AT Hauler, for example, you cheat that out on turn 1, and then you soup it up with a Chewbacca on turn 2, and you're swinging in for 7 damage. I mean, that's crazy. The Han Solo on the Falcons to make, I think you would make the other Falcon a 6/7, the Falcon from Jump to Lightspeed, and the Falcon from the first set, you would make it a 5/7, and you would have already swung in for 3 damage, so you would have got in for a total of 8 damage. So that's one of your best starts as well. I think it's 9 damage if you get the Chewbacca on the Falcon. Again, you'd have to, if you play that Falcon, of course, you'd have to cheat out another resource on turn 2 to be able to play the Chewbacca. But so yeah, you can definitely get up to some really strong starts playing 1 Skywalker, which is cool. The L337, of course. You're also playing the Phoenix and the Hotshot V-Wing, so that definitely the emphasis here was on getting pilots on turn 2 and putting a ton of pressure onto your opponent. I liked that they had a couple of Poes in here. And I like that they're playing the 6-drop Falcon as well. But it's a cool list. I haven't tested it out myself yet, but I definitely see how this deck could be really powerful and stuff. But yeah, I just thought this list was really cool, and I think Han Green in general is just in a good spot. Green, it definitely gives you that element where you can play Ewing and Home 1, which is different from yellow, and kind of have that really strong top end, as well as Traders. Traders is just in a great spot right now because of cards like Chewbacca being pilots and whatnot. So yeah, I think Han Green is on the rise for sure, and I think after seeing the results that it had this past weekend, where it had several top 32 finishes, I could see Han Green being played even more going forward. Just to take a quick look, here's my Han Data Vault list. Made this, I think, a couple weeks ago, so it's probably needs to be tweaked a little bit, but this is definitely less space focused, where you're just using Bright Hope. You have the home ones, the reinforcement walkers for restore effects, still using Ewing, but you're using the Tentative Sentinel as well in space, so heavy space Sentinels and then more ground pressure early on. So but that was just my take on it, but I thought that other list was really cool as well. And then in mine, of course, I'm playing a couple Bamboozle, the 3 Sparks, the 2 Traitorous, and the General Riken as a way to have additional Sentinels and a couple Change of Heart. So a little more focused on stealing things, a little more traditional style of play with it. And then 3 Commandeer in the main board to steal my opponent's units and attack in with them. So, But I definitely think that this deck is in a great spot. Another one, I mean, this one was played all over the place recently. I mean, it's had a lot of results in the past week and a half, 2 weeks. And I definitely thought that this is one of those decks that we would see a lot more of. It just has a good, well-rounded matchup base. This was a list that got fourth placed at the Richmond sector qualifiers. It's such a mouthful. What I liked about this list in particular was the Outer Rim Outlaws. Again, to help you against Sabine and against Quinlan, of course. I liked the Cham and the main board as a form of ramp. I definitely like the Bravado, but I don't necessarily think you need the Bravado just after playing this deck a lot lately. I really liked the Resolute in here because of Colossus. It makes a lot of sense to play that card. I've seen other people play like Chewbacca in that slot, but just a cool list as well. A little less restore effects in here with just a 3 restore to Arc, the 2 Yodas, and the Lukes. But they did play the Jedi lightsaber, which I think was a very good idea, and clearly it helped them a lot. I spoke about this before, but I definitely think that Jedi lightsaber, like not playing Jedi lightsaber on Anakin, is a mistake. It's just too good. Like it's good on your ground units early on, and then it's also just really, really powerful on Anakin, especially paired with Bravado in this particular situation. This was a little more unit focused than the versions that I've been playing, which are a little more control focused, like soft control, where they're playing like both the droids, they're playing Sabine, they're playing the Outer Rim Outlaws, they're not playing Daring Raids, they're only playing 2 open fires in the main, they're not playing any takedowns. So definitely more unit focused version here, but I definitely thought it was a very good build. Here are my most updated builds just to kind of give you a comparison. Where this is my R2 C3PO version. So I'm playing the droids. You can see I'm not playing as many turn 1 ground units. I'm playing more removal. I'm playing like Daring Raid, top target. You could argue that you don't need the top target. I don't think it's necessary, but from testing and being a more control version, top target has been really, really nice in here. And they were playing like 3 Yodas, 3 Red Squadrons, 2 Steel, 1 Razor Crest to kind of get things back because we are playing the Perilous Position, the top target. Razor Crest is really nice to get those back and to cycle those depending on which one you need more, as well as just being another restore effect unit. We are playing 2 Jedi lightsabers in this particular version, and then we're playing like all the removals that make sense: 3 open fires, 2 fell, 2 takedown, a couple rivals fall on the sideboard, a couple Poe, and then a couple redemption as well as another form of restore effect, since we are playing a little more, you know, where we might need to recover because we're playing more removal. But this list has felt great. 3 Cham in the side to ramp. You could definitely move some things around and put a couple of Cham in the main board. A couple Pillage for more control matchups, and Great Dragon as well for mid range and control. The Rivals Falls coming in against leaders that are a problem. But this list has been playing great. Same with this one, which is very similar. It's just using Kuil instead of the droids. You do have a little more space because of that, and I think the card that I put in was the Cham in the main board instead, and then 1 Rivals Fall. So yeah, so it just gives you a little more room. I think both of these versions are fine, and then you get to add the Concord Dawn on the side. I think you could argue that Concord Dawn could be added in the side in this version as well. You could see in his 4th place version he played a couple, and I think it's still a really strong card to play. So any one of these versions are very strong. You can see I prefer to play the top target. Again, in my testing and the style of play that I'm playing, top target just makes a lot of sense. But in general, I think Anakin's in a great spot. So, and one thing I'll say about top target too, not only is it great for the Sabine matchup and it helps that matchup to feel better because Sabine can still just run you over in Anakin. The other thing is like just other matchups, like even Quinlan or just other strong matchups, Cad Bane. Uh, it's just really nice to be able to dictate and have more control over the damage that's on your base, because especially if you're using like Steel Guerrero and you want to maximize that 4 damage and find 2 cards with that when it comes in and when it dies, like it's nice to have a top target to reverse that effect while gaining the card advantage. Uh, because it's nice to pump up your damage sometimes so you make Anakin stronger with Steel Guerrero, but then sometimes it can backfire and your opponent can come out of nowhere and put a lot of damage on you. So having that top target has just been really, really nice to slow things down and keep me closer to 20 damage, which is kind of my happy spot most of the time, 20 damage or less. There's definitely a lot of matchups where my opponents don't even get 20 damage just because of the amount of removal and restore I have in here. But top target definitely keeps my opponents away from that 30 damage, on the wrong side of 25, where they're like closer to 30 damage and they can just rebel assault and kill me. So top target has been very, very important in those matchups. But next on the list, we saw a ton of Kira, mostly the Data Vault version, which makes a lot of sense, getting that extra HP and just being able to fit more cards in the list for a deck like this is just really nice. Just gives you more removal, more top end cards that you can squeeze in, more Sentinels like the Chilson. I just did a video on Kira. I think Kira's in an incredible spot right now. This particular version, once I tweaked it to where it's at the moment, where I added, I think the client, and what was the other big thing that I had added? I think I had added in a Traitorous in the main board instead of having it in the side. And I think Traitorous just in general is in an incredible spot right now. Again, just because you're stealing your opponent's souped up upgraded space units, because typically they're going to play a cheap space unit that they upgrade, and just playing Traitorous on that is just nuts. Like, just to be able to completely take over the game, and because you play it on Kira's flip turn, it just gives you another great card to play in addition to Overwhelming Barrage, Devastating Gunship, or even Chilson is great on Kira's flip turn. Chilson is been great as an addition in here, and just it makes sense in the 60 card version because you can fit it in, and I do think it's really necessary because everybody's familiar with Kira at this point in time, so they're expecting you to flip and they're waiting for you to flip, and they'll try to delay flipping their own leader because they know you're going to flip Kira as soon as they do and damage everything on their board. So people try to play around it and try to just kill your Kira right away with cards like, they definitely want to attack into it easily or ECL into it because it's so easy to kill. Chilson makes that harder, and then it forces them to have a piece of removal to be able to take Kira out and do that, with an open fire or takedown. So it just kind of, it It also just really does a good job of putting pressure on your opponent as a 5/5 or 6/6 a lot of times, and then just protecting some of your other strong units as well. So, and not having to use your removal every turn, which is nice. The sideboard playing in my particular version here, we're playing a second copy of Client. Oops. The 3 Palps Return, the second Rivals Fall, the third Maul, the third Laser Blast, and then 2 Relentless and 1 Annihilator. So, but yeah, I think Kira's in a great spot, and if you're a blue villainy player, just definitely check this version out. All the links for all these decks are going to be in the description as usual. One other thing that I like about this list is playing like a couple Inferno 4 and that third spaceship on 1 is the Onyx. Just gives you like that additional life gain. Again, I'm playing top target in the main board. That's just going to be a theme for a lot of my decks. It just allows, for my playstyle, it just allows me to play more aggressively and squeeze things in. And I just think it's great in here, again, to keep you away from that 25 plus damage threshold where you can lose the game with like Rebel Assault or Surprise Strike. 8 damage. Let's say you're at 25, like 8 damage is really easy to hit with Rebel Assault and Surprise Strike. So it kind of, again, your top target is going to keep you closer to 20 damage in a lot of games, and it definitely does so in this list as well. Next on the list, this one finished top 32. I think I want to say it was like 25th, 26th in the recent tournament over the weekend, but I thought it was a really cool list, so I thought I would talk about it because I did see a lot of the new Darth Vader leader, and I think that's just because people are starting to figure out how to utilize it and how to maximize its value and starting to get their list more refined to make it more competitive. I mean, it definitely is one of those leaders that had a lot of potential, and it's so interesting that I think when it first came out, people thought it was going to be too slow, and maybe that's because of Django, but it's in a good spot now. I like this list that uses a ton of 1 resource units to just go as wide as possible, and then you get to do the sweet Clone Combat Squadron stuff that you get to do with Darth Vader, where you can make that card incredibly strong. I just recently played this deck, or the blue one, I can't remember, but I got the Clone Combat Squadron up to a 16/16, and then I did an overwhelming barrage for 18 damage. I mean, it's just stupid. So that card is just incredible. Obviously, it's bad against Waylay, but like, you know, what card that you soup up isn't bad against Waylay? So it's always going to be a thing. But your ability to go wide and put a lot of pressure is just, it's really strong. I like the blue version a lot as well, and I will show that here in a second. But this was a really cool version that I saw in the tournament. Was there anything else that I thought was really cool? I like the Death Space Skirmisher as a form of exhaust. I definitely like that they played that plus 3 No Good to Me Dead, plus 3 Waylay, plus 3 Geonosis. So they had a lot of ways to bounce things and a lot of ways to exhaust things. So it very, very good list. Here's my blue version. Not as many spaceships as the yellow version you just saw. A little more stuff on the ground, but you're using like Academy Graduate as a sentinel on the ground or as in space if you need it to be, which is cool. The Eager Escort again coming in because that counts as an attack for Vader, so you can trigger it as well as a form of removal using covering the wing to shield important things, Iden to shield important things, shuttle to move the shields around. A couple No Glory in the main board as a form of removal against super big threats like on the ground, like Wrecker and Poe. If you don't have a good answer or a sentinel on the ground, which you don't play a lot, because you're going so wide again, you're using Malevolence to cheat that out early and get a strong spaceship and have a good overall barrage target in addition to Clone Combat Squadron. And this version, I've gotten Clone Combat Squadron up to 18 power, I think, one time. And then using Entrenched as a way to deal with strong threats on the ground to shut them down from attacking in to your base. And then a couple Turbo Laser Salvo as another form of board wipe besides Overwhelming Barrage. Against more mid-range and control matchups, I would say. Aggro, you're just trying to race them and stop big threats. The yellow version definitely has just more natural inclusions that slow them down, like the Death Space Skirmisher and the Geonosis. I think those two ships just definitely give that deck in, playing spaceships while creating a situation where you're bouncing things and shutting things down. And then No Good to Me Dead is cheap. Waylay is cheap, later, 5, 6 resources. That's when you want to use the Waylay most of the time. But yeah, I definitely think Vader's in a good spot as well. Like it's getting better and better. People are learning how to play it and adjust to where things are at. I'm eager to see what other stuff we get next set that could potentially help Vader get even better. Gar Saxon, just I think it's still worth mentioning. I've seen this deck everywhere in top finishes. Like it's definitely on the rise. Like it is being played all the time. It's having strong success. It hasn't had any big wins yet. I've seen it win a few small things, but it's just one that's just there all the time. And this particular version has been really strong for me, using the Snow Trooper Lieutenant as kind of an additional way to buff damage with your upgrades and your surprise strikes. Asteroid Sanctuary is really good. Hotshot Blaster, of course, is another way to buff damage. You could consider putting the Perilous Position in the main board over the Electromagnetic Pulse. I think that's probably fine, but I chose to keep that in here just because it's a cheap piece of removal for vehicles, or a cheap way to exhaust heavy, a strong space unit so that you can keep putting pressure and outrace your opponent. And then you're playing the 3 Inferno 4 and 3 Onyx so that you can potentially upgrade them on turn 2 with Iden as an option against more aggressive opponents so that you can put them under a lot of pressure. I think you're swinging in for 6 damage with an Iden that's shielded. So that's really cool. Snapshot Reflex is another way to boost damage as well. And then you have Client if you really need to gain some life and remove things, as well as just being a good 3/5 attacker in this deck. And then you have 7th Fleet Defender, which is 4 power. What else is shielded? Director Krennic's a 3 powered unit. Crafty Smuggler's a 3 powered unit. Pikes uh, can essentially be a 5 powered unit. Hyden's a 5 powered unit. And then you can do cool things again with Shuttle, moving things around. TIE Advance is a way to upgrade a lot of your Imperial units, which you are playing a lot of Imperial units in this list. And then a couple Boba Fett as a 6 powered unit or as an upgrade. So this list has been a lot of fun. And Gar Saxon in general, especially the yellow version, is just in a great spot as well. I wouldn't. It would not surprise me at all if we saw Gar Saxon win a big tournament sometime soon. But yeah, I just thought these were some decks to mention that are on the rise that I thought, well, some are a little newer, like the Han Green. We haven't seen as much of that. We're seeing a lot more Kira now. Kira's in a great spot again. And I liked that Vader. Vader, I saw a lot of Vaders when I was kind of watching some of the coverage, and I think in the top 64 there was probably 5 or 6 Vaders. Most of them were blue. I think that the yellow one that finished top 32 was the only yellow one, I think. But yeah, just it's just cool to see where things are at, and kind of as the meta is kind of settling in. Where obviously like Sabine and Kira and Anakin and Cad Bane were all top finishers. But it was nice to see Kira do so well and finish fifth. The Anakin finished fourth, and then the Han Solo Echo at third. So, but as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But y'all have a good one and peace out.